So now we will go to the next module. In the earlier, we have discussed about basic neural networks, and I also have told you very briefly about recurrent neural networks. Today, we will just get into, just revise our understanding of recurrent neural networks, because recurrent neural networks and more advanced forms such as transformers are very important for doing different tasks related to natural language processing. Can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am, very good.
Now, as you know, that language is inherently sequential. Like, I hope there are no more classes. No, I hope there are more classes. If you look at these two sentences, even though the words are same, just because no has changed its position, they mean very different things, right? They mean exactly opposite, actually. So, the sequence is very important. And if you want to work with some model, that model should capture sequences properly. And whether you do syntactic parsing or part of speech tagging, they all require you to work with sequence. And the algorithms that we have seen, for example, Viterbi algorithm for part of speech tagging, they deal with sequences. In the transition-based parsing, we also look at a sequence in the sequential order. Now, we have talked about language models before, right? So what is a language model? We can use a language model to predict the next word. And we have talked about a simple language model, which is the N-gram language model. Now, you can think that the N-gram language model, you can implement in a neural network. We have seen how words are embedded. So instead of just looking at whether in your corpus, if you have a 3-gram language model, you see after these two words, which word is more frequent, instead of just looking at it, you can have a more generalized model starting with the word embedding. So we have already seen, for example, word-to-vec methods like CBAU or skipgram. So suppose you want to predict that, what is the next word after the hole in the ground there. You want to predict the next word. And suppose you use a 4-gram model. So you look at the previous 3 words and you want to predict the next word. So one way of doing it is to have this word embedding of this word. So if you want to use a 4-gram language model, you look at the previous 3 words and their word embedding, and then you have some neural network. And using the neural network, you predict the next word. So you have a softmax over all the words in the vocabulary. And this neural network can be trained with the cross entropy loss. Is this clear? So the N-gram language model, you can implement in a neural network so that it generalizes and it also takes into account the embeddings of the words. Now, if we want to use recurrent neural networks, we have briefly talked about RNN. I hope you remember it. I will again talk a little bit about it. That instead of restricting ourselves to N-gram, that is a specific, 3-gram, 4-gram, 5-gram, etc., we can, in theory, take into account the entire context that has come before in order to predict the next. So the previous approach could be thought of as a sliding window approach. Why sliding window? Because previous 3, I'm looking at the next. So from W1, W2, W3, I'm guessing W4. Now, when I know the actual W4 from W2, W3, W4, I'm guessing W5. So my window is sliding through the sentence. But instead of this approach, we can have a generalized approach that handles inputs of variable length. So that suppose in the sentence, I already have seen 15 words, I want the 16th word, or I've seen 4 words, I want the 5th word. So whatever be the context, I want to make use of the entire context. And for that, we introduced a recurrent neural network where we have a cycle. So we have, we have a network which shares weight, and there are connections from HT minus 1 to HT. And we have connections from the input to the hidden node to output. And we have 3 sets of weight. So this is WXH, this is WHH, and this is WHY. And these weights are shared across different time steps. And then there are different versions of recurrent neural network, such as LST, MGRU, etc., which are more powerful. Now, we earlier looked at sequence labeling tasks, such as part of speech tagging, then named entity tagging. For this, we have looked at a hidden Markov model and also linear chain conditional random field, for which we can use a Viterbi algorithm or a Viterbi-like algorithm for inputs. Now, as an alternative, we can also use a recurrent neural network for the sequence labeling task. So we can, for example, for the part of speech tagging task, we can think of, we have the, these are the different words, W1, W2, W3, Wn. We can represent each word by its embedding, and the Y1, Y2, Yn will be the part of speech. We want to predict the part of speech of the words. But in order to be able to work with it, we want to be able to deal with variable length sentences. And as we have discussed before, and we are reiterating again, the activation value of the hidden layer can depend on the current input X as well as the HT. So we have this function, HT is function of XT and HT minus 1. So this is a model that we have introduced earlier. So this is a simple recurrent neural network where we have, this is my current input. This is the previous hidden layer. This is the current hidden layer and the current output. And so this HT is a function, we are using G here, function of HT minus 1 and XT. And what is this function? We have a set of weights U, what I was calling WHH. So U, or we can call it WHH. And we have W, or we can call it WXH. And we have B, we can call it WYH. WH. So we have these 3 sets of weights, U, V, and W. So HT is G of UHT minus 1 plus WXT, and G is an activation function such as the sigmoid, as we have seen. And YT is a function of VHT. And this function, if you want to do part of speech tag where we have, let us say, 10 possible tags, we can do a soft tags. Now this RNN, we can enroll over all the words. Suppose there are 3 words in the sentence. So then this RNN will actually look at like this with weights shared across time steps. And the feed forward part, when you feed a sentence, then feed a sentence X1, X2, X3, and given weights U, V, W, you can compute Y1, Y2, Y3, as this algorithm shows. And to train a recurrent neural network, you can do backpropagation. We call it backpropagation through time because we are unrolling the neural network over the sequence. So in order to apply this RNN training, first we feed an input. So we have, as usual, we have xi, yi pairs, where xi is a sequence, yi is also a sequence. So given xi, we compute the ht and yt at each time step, and then we can compute that. So this is the y1, which is output by the network, y1, y2, y3. And these are the target values. Suppose for the part of speech tag, this is the correct tag, T1, T2, T3. So based on the difference between T1 and Y1, T2 and, so between T1 and Y1, we can find the loss function at time step 1. Similarly, we can find the loss function at time step 2, and we can find the loss function at time step 3. So what we want to do is that we want to minimize the sum of the losses or the average of the losses. So we compute the loss at each time step. And then when we do back propagation, we back propagate these losses in each step backward in time. So this sort of RNN is usually drawn like this as shown below. So we have x1, x2, x3, and we have y1, y2, y3 is the output. And inside we have this h1, h2, h3. Now, if the sequence is very long, the back propagation will take a lot of time. So for practical reasons, we can often truncate back propagation after a few steps. So if you take a loss function and we are back propagating, and suppose the sequence has length 100, we can say, let us say we truncate after length 10. So we can decide where to truncate. So if you have long input sequence, then instead of unrolling the entire sequence, we unroll it to a manageable fixed length segment and only back propagate till then. This is called truncated back propagation through time. And as we mentioned, RNN has several applications. For example, in language modeling, to predict the next word. Suppose after these 3 words, we want to predict the next word or the next 2 words or 3 words. So we can feed it through an RNN, and then we can predict the word x4, the word x5, x6, etc. We can use it for topic classification. For example, sentiment classification. We have earlier seen algorithms like knife paste, etc. But sometimes the sentiment is better captured if we look at the sequence of words. Because if you put a particular word in different positions, the sentiment may change. So we can do sentiment classification through an RNN. Or in general, even any topic classification we can do through an RNN, where we feed the entire input and at the finally we have the output, the last step. And then we can also have sequence to sequence tasks like pause, NER, where for every position we want to find the time. So let us look at the pause tagging, simple RNN for pause tagging. So the input is pre-trained embedding. For example, the simplest embedding is word to vec. So this word, we will look up the word to vec and feed it there. And the output at every step is a softmax over, suppose there are 10 tags. So there will be 10 scores on which we apply a softmax. And we can choose the maximum probability label, right? And because the maximum probability label individually may not always be very good, we can combine this. We can use it as a beam search, or even better, we can combine this with a Viterbi algorithm to find the most likely sequence. Okay. So often in the state-of-the-art approaches for part of speech and NER, there is an RNN in the bottom, and on the top of that, we have an HMM, or we have the Viterbi algorithm, or even a CRF. Then this shows the RNN application for sequence classification. So what we have is an RNN where we feed the text, and then at the final state, we have a feed-forward neural. We have a multi-layered feed-forward neural network, and then on top of it, we have a softmax. Then an RNN can be used for generating text, right? So you learn an RNN model and you feed in some initial context, a few words or a few paragraphs, and then one word is generated. Based on that, you generate the second word. Like that, you can generate an entire text. For example, this is an example of a text which was generated with neural language model. And so of course there are a few trials were there, but as you can see, after feeding one paragraph on Unicorn, so this is the text which was output by a modern neural language model. And if you read through the text, you will see that it's hard to believe, unless you really go deep, that it has been generated by a model. And if you want to generate, there has to be certain cosmetic things that you have to put in. You have put a beginning of a sentence marker, end of sentence marker. And at each step, the words that you generate is based on the words that you have seen previously. Now, you can also, in order to make these models more powerful, just like you can have deep networks, deep feed-forward networks, you can also have a deep RNN. So where you have multiple hidden layers stacked, right, which looks like this. So this is your input. This is the first hidden layer, second hidden layer, third hidden layer. So we see that there are links from hidden node at a particular layer from one time step to the next time step, and hidden node at one layer to the next layer for the same time step. You can also have bidirectional RNN where you want to use context from both sides. Of course, in language modeling, if you want to do sequential generation, then you cannot use bidirectional RNN. But for a task such as pause tagging or NER, you can use bidirectional RNN. So you have one RNN which goes in the forward direction from the first word to the next last word, and another RNN which goes from right to left, and both the hidden states you can concatenate. So this illustrates a bidirectional RNN. So you have, this is a left to right RNN, this is a right to left RNN. These two hidden states are concatenated, and then you get the output. You can use it for a task such as part of speech tagging. And this shows how the bidirectional RNN looks. This illustrates the use of a bidirectional RNN for sentence classification. You could have a single RNN, or if you have a bidirectional RNN, you take the left to right RNN, take the state of the last word, you take the right to left RNN, you take the state of the first word, that is the last in the sequence, you concatenate them, and then you have a feed-forward network to predict the topic. You can also stack bidirectional RNN in multiple layers. This is an example of a stacked bidirectional RNN for part of speech tagging. So you have the input sentence, which is given here, right? So this is an illustration of the RNN architecture. So for each word, suppose you take the word brown, it is a concatenation of an embedding vector and the ends. So we have here two RNNs. One is a character level RNN. The other is the word level RNN, right? So the encoding of brown is derived from, so one bidirectional RNN on characters. So, and concatenated with the word-to-vec embedding of brown. This is the word-to-vec embedding of brown. Also, you find an embedding of brown based on the characters. So we earlier told you that words or morphemes are the main unit of natural language. However, there are cases when the word is new, word is unknown. And sometimes the form of the word tells you something about the word. And therefore, in many cases, information about the characters is used to derive the embedding of the word. So in this particular case, there is a bidirectional RNN on the characters to get the embedding of the word, which is concatenated with the word vec embedding. And the embeddings of these words are fed to a bidirectional RNN, which goes through these words. And then we have the part of speech which are predicted. Is it okay with everybody? Okay, so we stop here today, and we will continue again in the next.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
So this